licensing panel, which is for application for a new premises license under the Licensing Act 2003 for Cook's News 1 Montefiore Road, Hove. Can I have submissions for chair, please?
You're on mute, Ivan.
I'm happy to nominate Councillor Kerry Pickett.
Thank you.
Happy to second that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pickett, are you happy to chair?
I am, thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you then, Councillor.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. First, we need to go through some procedural business. Are there any declarations of substitutes?
No.
Okay, thank you. And are there any declarations of interest?
No.
Thank you. There are no non-public items on this agenda, and therefore we will not be excluding the press and public for any item today. We are being webcast, so everything is an open session. This is an application for a new premises licence for Cook's News 1 Montefiore Road, Hove. Before we begin, can I ask everyone to introduce themselves, starting with the panel?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Councillor Ivan Lyons for West Dean and Hove Park Ward.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Nan. I'm a councillor for Wish.
Thank you, Paul. Emily Fountain, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. Emily Fountain, Licensing Officer, presenting the application.
Thank you. Emma Grant?
Emma Grant, Licensing Officer, presenting the representation.
And Harry Young?
I'm Harry Young. I'm not really sure what to call my position, but I'm a local resident.
That's great, thank you. Sorry, Nick Rowe.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nick Rowe. Good morning. I am also a local resident.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Councillor O'Quinn. You're on mute.
Good morning. I'm Councillor Jackie O'Quinn, and I am objecting to this application, and I am a local resident as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Sarah Booker-Lewis.
Good morning, Sarah Booker-Lewis, local democracy reporter representing the majority of news media for Brighton and Hove.
Thank you, Sarah. Surrender Patel.
Surendra Panchal, sorry, ma'am. I'm representing the applicant, Harold Akshay Kumar Patel, who's sitting next to me, but I'll be speaking on behalf of her. I'm the applicant's agent.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Rebecca Siddell.
Yes, good morning. Rebecca Siddell, legal advisor to the panel. There may be a couple of my colleagues just sitting in on this one as well, Carol and Helen, but I'm not sure that they're here at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm Councillor Kerry Pickett. I'll be chairing today. Can I ask, firstly, please ensure that your microphone is on when speaking, and if possible, your camera, as it is nice to see people. Please turn off your mic and camera when not speaking. I'll now hand over to the Licence Officer, Emily Fountain, to introduce the application.
Thank you, Chair. This hearing is for an application for a new premises licence for Cook's News 1 Montefiore Road. The hours applied for are Monday to Thursday from 8 AM until 2300, Friday and Saturday 0800 to midnight, and Sundays 0900 to 2230 for off sales of alcohol, and the opening hours are the same. I will leave it to the applicant to explain the proposed application in more detail. The Section 18 operating schedule of the application is detailed at Appendix A, and the proposed plans of the premises are in Appendix B. 21 representations opposing the application and 1 supporting representation were received. These were received from local residents, local councillors and the licensing authority. The objections raised concerns relating to all 4 licensing objectives. These can be found at Appendix C on pages 31 to 54 of today's agenda. A map of the location of the premises can be found in Appendix D. Our statement of licensing policy includes a matrix approach for licensing decisions, which can be found on page 10 of today's agenda. The matrix model recognises the diverse operation and different risks presented by different classes of licensed premises. It provides the framework of what the licensing authority would like to see within its area and gives an indication of the likelihood of success or otherwise to investors and local businesses making applications. This premises does not fall within the cumulative impact zone or the special stress area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Emily. I'll now hand over to Emma Grant from the Licensing Authority to hear their representation. Sorry, Rebecca.
Yeah, sorry, through you, Chair. I didn't know whether anyone had any questions of clarification of Emily, the licensing officer, at all.
Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks,
No.
Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Sorry, so now we will hand over to Emma Grant.
Ma'am,
Thank you, Chair.
I raised my
Sorry.
hand up. I would ask a question, or I would like to amend before we go further, if it's okay with your legal and that, I could amend the application slightly, considering the objectors we have. We are happy to amend the hours of proposed supply of alcohol from Friday and Saturday, bring back to 23 hours.
Rebecca, can I just confer with you?
Yes, I mean, if that's what you're saying, that will be now your application to 2300 hours, except for Sunday, which would still be 2230. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am. Because we've looked at the objectors and we feel that yes, we are considering the objectors' view of going later. So we're amending the license to run to 23 hours and 2230 on Sunday.
Okay, that can be noted. And
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now go to Emma Grant. Thank you.
Okay, that slightly changes my what I was going to say. So if you can bear with me, you will have seen my representation in Appendix C against the new application for Cooks, 1 Montefiore Road, Hove. Emily has described the details of that application. The grounds for the representation is contrary to the statement of licensing policy. However, with the changing of the hours, because Friday and Saturday was till midnight, that has slightly changed. So, but it's also that it may undermine the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder, the prevention of public nuisance, public safety, and the protection of children from harm. As Emily explained, the council statement of licensing policy includes a matrix approach for licensing decisions, with provisional terminal hours for all classes of licensed premises in a particular area. This premises falls outside the cumulative impact and special stress areas defined in the statement of licensing policy. The matrix model states that off licenses can be permitted in areas outside of the cumulative impact and special stress area until 2300 hours, which now obviously changes that my representation, because the Friday and Saturday hours were now hours will fall within that. The policy does state that each application is still considered on its individual merits and there is discretion to depart from the policy where justified. However, departure from the matrix model is only expected in exceptional circumstances. Guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act states that in completing an operating schedule, applicants are expected to have regard to the statement of licensing policy for their area. This should include positive proposals in their application on how they will manage any potential risks, demonstrate an understanding of how the policy impacts on their application, details any measures they will take to mitigate the impact, and explain why they consider their application should be an exception to the policy. The applicant has proposed conditions to promote the licensing objectives, including the provision of CCTV, operating Challenge 25 and staff training, as well as conditions relating to customers leaving the shop. The licensing team makes this representation to uphold the council's statement of licensing policy, and we wish to bring the application to the attention of the panel so they can decide whether this application constitutes exceptional circumstances to depart from the policy.
Thank you, Emma. Before we take questions, can I just note that we have an extra person, Nurul Islam. Would you just like to introduce yourself? Nurul?
Yes.
Would you just like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Nurul Islam, 24 Montefiore Road, Hove, BM3 1RD.
Thank you. You're a resident?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any questions in relation to what has just been said from the panel?
Yeah. So my first question is to the licensing officer. There's two other establishments in the parade, I understand, that sell alcohol. Can you let everybody know what the times and the conditions for those premises are compared to the applicant?
I can look up the times. There are two. One is sort of an entertainment venue and one is a shop. I can look up the hours. There's obviously a number of conditions relating to that, which might be a bit onerous to go through, and there'll be like a lot of things about CCTV, Challenge 25 and that sort of thing. But I can look up.
If you can, please, because I think it's quite important and
Emily
key.
Fountain, would you like to just come in there?
Yeah, sure. So I have got those details. So there are two off-licence premises in Montefiore Road, and the times for those are: one is alcohol every day 10 to 2300, and one is alcohol every day 0800 to 2300. Does that answer your? Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the panel? Any questions from Ward Councillor Jackie O'Quinn? Any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Any questions from residents on what has just been said? And any questions from Surendra Panchal, the applicant? No, thank you. Okay, so we will now go on to a representation from Jackie O'Quinn, please, Ward Councillor.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is from all three ward councillors, and obviously we noticed this because we had also objected to the second off licence that had opened in the road. But this one is different. It was simply just a sort of, a shop that sold all kinds of various things, papers and sweets and drinks and so on, but not alcoholic drinks. And this was how it was for years and years and years. And I knew the couple who ran it, and both have now sadly passed away. And actually it closed quite early when they were there. And it's very worrying, this one, because actually what hasn't been said by the licensing officer, and I will read this bit out, in an area where there are already several existing off licenses, this is in the policy, or where the premises is situated within a parade with another off license, and where representations are received about negative cumulative impact on the licensing objectives of a further premises, the application may be refused on these grounds, or restrictions placed on the terminal hour to reflect opening hours of other shops. Well, I think that this is the third off licence in a very small area. It's literally so many yards. one of the other ones is one door away from Cook's News. So you would have 2 off licenses, which are basically cheek by jowl. And I can assure you that we really do not need 3 off licenses in this area, which is a heavy residential area, also opposite a hospital. And this is becoming more of a residential area as well, so will annoy more people. We've had various complaints from residents about noise in the road later at night, which is obviously centred around the 2 off licenses that are already there. And, you know, it just seems quite extraordinary for somebody to put in a licence for another off licence when they must be aware that there are issues in the road relating to noise, disturbances, antisocial behaviour and so on, which is really upsetting local residents, as you will have seen by the number of objections to this application. That's a lot of objections from local residents in this area who are deeply unhappy about another off licence. And I can see you could say, oh, well, you know, that's fine, it can have the same hours as the other one. That isn't the point. It's not required, it's not needed. There are 2 perfectly good off licenses there. I would say 2 is too many and 3 is certainly sort of, you know, overdoing it. So I rest my case on that. This should be refused for alcohol. It survived for years and years without selling alcohol. It's a much loved shop, and I think it needs to remain the same and not cause problems and issues in the road for local residents. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jackie. Any questions for Councillor O'Quinn from the panel? Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Quinn. Just for the record, I note that the police haven't submitted a report commenting on any antisocial behaviour or have made a representation. Obviously appreciate the residents, some residents have made comments, but just wanted to make that clear to the panel and to everybody present today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lyons. Sorry.
Can I answer that? Okay. I think you might find that our PCSO is very well aware of issues in this road. And as she is aware of also issues in St Answell Park and so on, because we let her know about this. Residents will rarely go and make a thing on the police thing. It's up to us local councillors and we go to our PCSOs. So to answer your question, Councillor Lyons, yes, the police are aware because our local PCSO is aware. And residents are very unhappy about this. Obviously, if they are required to make lots of sort of complaints to the police, I mean, that is quite a long process. Much better to go through your councillors and also, if possible, a LAT. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Surendra, do you have any questions for Councillor O'Quinn?
Sorry, ma'am, I have no question at this very moment because I will do my presentation and there are police's conditions laid up. So that's important for us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. In that case, we will now go on to residents' representations. Can I start with Harry Young? Would you like to make a representation?
Yes, but I will admit I'm not completely prepared with my defence. I wasn't aware. I thought this was only a hearing.
You don't have to speak. That's fine. I just wondered if you had anything that you would like to say.
My only comment would be is that there are, I believe, already there might be too many places that sell alcohol around the area. I, as a young person, know that there are a lot of people in the area who come around to buy alcohol from these sorts of shops, and I think that adding another one would only further the problem of already having lots of noise in the area, because I know there's a lot of noise complaints. But that's really all I have to say for the moment.
Thank you, Harry. Does anyone have any comments to make on that? Councillor Nan.
Harry, when you say a lot of young people come in to buy alcohol, do you mean legally or illegally?
Legally, but I'm sure there is the case of illegal sales, but not. I know that. I mean, I only really go to Sweet Shop, and I know that the Challenge 25 rule is enforced very thoroughly there.
Okay, thanks, Harry.
Thank you. Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair. I know the parade of shops well, and clearly, if people want to buy alcohol, they can buy alcohol from those two existing shops. There's hardly queues of people standing outside those shops trying to buy alcohol. So, if a third shop decides to sell alcohol, how do why do you think it will attract even further people to buy alcohol at that particular area when they can buy alcohol already without any issues or problems?
Who's your question related to? Directed to Councillor Lyons?
Well, sorry, it was to the residents who mentioned that he obviously had concerns about attracting additional people buying alcohol, but as it stands at the moment, people can walk into those shops. There's no queues. They can buy alcohol. So why would it attract? Why does he think it would attract more people? I would welcome his thoughts.
Well, mostly it would be based on the fact that it's close to the bus stop, and I feel like as the bus is going past, it's very easily, you can see it very easily. I just believe it would attract more people stopping off before they go into town or something like that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. We'd like to hear from Nick Rowe. Do you have a representation?
Sorry, can you hear me now? I was just trying to unmute. Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, so I'm a resident. I live above the Sweet Shop. And I first lived in Montefiore Road in another area back in 2010. And first of all, we were open to having another alcohol shop there. I think it was called S&M. It's now called the Liquor Store. That was enough. And then a few years ago, we had the application through for the Sweet Shop to have an alcohol license. I thought that was overkill, even then, 3 years ago. There were basically two alcohol premises within 70 feet of each other. And now we're having another alcohol license application through. What is becoming of Montefiore Road, to be honest with you? I'm sorry, but I share exactly the same sentiments as Jacqueline O'Quinn. Thank you very much for speaking up. Yes, okay, you're absolutely right. There is possibly not an actual increase of footfall, as Councillor Lyons just said. However, it's making a statement as to what Montefiore Road is becoming. I mean, we had shops that ran normal business hours before. We had a hairdresser's that was there. We had a tile shop that was there. And it's becoming a ghetto for alcohol and vape shops. And it's just having an impact on the area, the way it looks, to be honest with you. My concern is the hospital that's opposite, where there are people recovering and resting. You've got the park to St Answell's Gardens that's going to be open to more more buyers. And based on the fact that there is another alcohol license that could be active next to the shop, the Sweet Shop, that is already an alcohol premises, is there going to be an alcohol war between the two, the license owners? That's another concern I have. So, for example, one person goes in who's under 18, tries to buy alcohol from one shop, gets rejected. Do they go into another shop? Do they try again? I'm not so sure that everyone's being ID'd correctly in the Sweet Shop. I don't know. I have no proof. But there is definitely also an increase in noise. I sleep now with earplugs, and there is also an increase in trash and mess on the road. In the morning, I go outside, I see beer cans, Coke cans, half-eaten takeaway tubs of polystyrene and chips and what have you. And you know, there's a dear old street cleaner a street cleaner that comes once a week, and he comes to clear up the trash and the mess outside on the pavement. But it's not enough these days. The rubbish is left there for days now before he comes and cleans. And I'm just concerned about the extra noise and also the extra mess that's going to be left. That's all I really have to say. But as a resident, I can't believe this is happening again, so close to the other shop.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Does the panel have any questions for Nick? Emily Fountain, do you have a question for Nick?
Sorry, no, not a question for Nick, but I've just noticed that some people have joined the meeting, and I'm not entirely sure that they've made representation. So I don't know if they could confirm that they've made representation. Obviously, I've got email addresses. So.
Okay, I have in the chat, I can see there's someone called Ellie who can't speak through their microphone. Do we allow this, Rebecca?
If Ellie hasn't made a relevant representation, then no, she can't really speak in her own right. No. I mean, I think what she says is said by other residents anyway, but yeah, I don't think she has as such, unless she's yes, she has. Well, there's Ellie. I don't know. Maybe she has made a relevant representation, in which case she's made a point in the chat. And
is everyone able to read the chat?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ellie. Councillor O'Quinn.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I saw Alison Dean coming in, and
I was just going.
She made a representation as well, and Sean made me aware of that.
We seem to have a various people trying to join the meeting quite late. I'll just go to Alison Dean. Can you please introduce yourself?
Well, yes, I don't know why, but my camera doesn't appear to be showing me, although it says it's switched on my screen. So, yes, very briefly, my main concern, I suppose, and I've only just joined this. I understood it was starting at 10:30, but it seems as if it's already in progress. So I may.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Alison Dean. I'm a resident at 19 Colborne Road in Hove, which is just round the corner from Montefiore Road. Okay.
Thank you. We'll come to you in just a moment. I'm just taking some questions on Nick Rowe's representation.
Okay.
One moment. Thank you. I see we also have Luke Stanger. Are we including him in the meeting? Okay, I'll move forward for the moment. One moment. Sorry, so did the panel have any questions for Nick Rowe? No. Does anybody else? Sorry, Rebecca.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt the flow. I just don't know. Alison, I'm just checking whether she's made a representation. I don't. Can I see that? Have you made have you written in?
Yes, I emailed licensing and one of your colleagues, whose name I don't remember, I can look it up, forwarded me this Zoom because I had emailed in, and I believe I copied my 3 councillors so they can verify that.
Yeah, I can verify that, Rebecca, and also I had the email from Sean letting me know that Alison had made a representation.
Right, is that the case, Emily? Do you know? Have I just missed? Is it part of the ones I've got? Then I'm just not looking properly.
No, I can't see Alison Dean as making representations. Not in the.
Do you want me to try and forward it again?
I mean, I can have a look at what happened. I mean, it could be that. sorry, sent something in and it may have been invalid. It could be something like that. I wouldn't know without having a look. So
it wasn't invalid, Emily. I know, because it had the right reasons in it.
Was it in
for
time?
being
Was it
accepted?
was
Yes,
was
it
it
was
within
in
the
time as well. It was in time as well.
I mean, the only thing I can do is have a look at what's been sent in, but it's not in the papers.
No. So that's slightly tricky. If we, but maybe we just go ahead with
if it
people that-
eases matters, I will just observe and not speak. Okay.
Well, that's very helpful. I mean, that's very helpful, and maybe you could always ask one of the other residents to make a point if they haven't made it for you, perhaps. Is that all right?
Are you agreeable?
Who are you asking? Sorry, me?
Yeah, yes, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I've suggested. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, can we just clarify, are we allowing Luke Stanger to join this meeting? Because he's waiting in the lobby. Is this another late resident?
Yes.
He has made a representation. He's in the representation G, I believe. It's odd, isn't it? I don't know why 1030's got in. So
okay. Can we admit him as it's flashing on the screen?
Oh right, okay, I'll do it.
Thank you. Sorry, I've got a bit lost as to where we are.
So it was questions to Nick
Rowe,
wasn't it, at this stage?
Yes,
and then
so-
maybe hear from the other people that want to speak, and then you could take questions
Yeah.
afterwards.
Okay, so can I, Jackie?
Okay. Can I just ask a question of Nick? Nick, obviously we agree with each other on this, but it has been put forward by Councillor Lyons that, it wouldn't make any difference because there's no queues or anything in the other two shops. And so, you know, there's not so much demand for alcohol in the area. Nick, just can you, I don't know, perhaps we'll also ask this of the people who are putting forward the application. Obviously, if you're asking for a shop to be put in an area that sells alcohol, you're going to want to sell it, aren't you? I mean, this is what is worrying residents, isn't it? Nick, so if you could make a comment about that, I'd be really grateful. You're muted.
Sorry, can you just repeat that again, Councillor?
Well, it's just that Councillor Lyons has implied that there wouldn't be more people in the area because at the moment there's no queues in the shop. And I think you live you live in the road.
Yeah.
And so it sort of begs the question as to why there would be a third one anyway, if there's not a lot of demand, which is being implied. But actually, you're there. And I think there is quite a lot of demand. But how do you feel about that you know, there's this thing of, oh well, it's, you know, there's no queues and really it's not going to be a problem having a third one there?
Well, I mean, it's not that there aren't any queues, there are queues. You know, when there are special events, etc., you know, there's extra promotions going on for alcohol sales, but you know, there are sometimes quite a lot of footfall going in due to the space that's limited within the actual off-license premises. But I mean, for me, the biggest problem is obviously alcohol sales at nighttime. Yeah. In the daytime, it's not so much of an issue because number one, I mean, obviously I work, but second of all, there's less noise and less people. It's the talk, it's the constant continuation of shouting and talking, laughing outside the shops. Yeah, that is enough to disturb sleep patterns, to disturb anyone. Also, Deliveroo drivers, pick-up deliveries, noisy scooters that are coming up and down the road, parking. It's just an intersection of people just stopping off and getting things on a day-to-day basis.
So a third one selling alcohol would create a lot more problems for residents.
Correct, because there'd be more supply and demand. There'd also be more delivery drivers and people coming up and down and collecting. If they're selling, if the new premises wants to sell something for cheaper and people know about that, they're going to go to that. Then they're going to go to the other shop for other things that they're looking for that's cheaper in that shop. So there's going to be a competitive type of establishments going on for people wishing to, depending on what they consume.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Thank you very much. It's great having somebody who's actually in the road to comment on that.
Thank you, Nick.
Pleasure. Thank you.
We will now move on to the applicant, Surendra Patel.
Chair, can I just interrupt for one moment, Chair? It's Sean Hughes here. I just wanted to point out that we have 2 further people waiting in the lobby. Now we have 3 people waiting in the lobby. I don't
Do we
know.
allow them to join the meeting this late?
Now 4.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's not ideal, but I think they obviously thought the meeting started at 10:30 by the looks of it, and they're all people that have made a relevant representation, I believe. But that could be. Perhaps I don't know if they all want to speak or whether they just want to observe. So maybe we can establish who has just joined and get them to introduce themselves and see if they.
I'll let them into the meeting then, and then they can speak. Okay.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Chair.
Good morning. All the people who have just joined us, apologies, there seems to have been some sort of misunderstanding as to the start time. We have actually been in session since 10 o'clock. So could I ask Mickey to introduce yourself? Is it possible to put your camera on as well, please? Mickey? No. I see we have Luke Stanger still trying to get in as well. Do we admit? Yes, Alison, thank you. We can now have you on camera. That's great. Luke Stanger, could you please introduce yourself, please?
Unmute, Lukey.
You're on mute.
Oh, hello. Is that better now? Can you hear me now?
We can.
Hi there. Yeah, my name's Luke Stanger. I live at 17 Sisby Road. I'm a local resident, and I've joined the meeting just to express my objections to this planning application. Would you like me to say other reasons as to why?
Yes, Luke, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, like other residents may have said, I worry about the risk of increased antisocial behaviour, the possible risk of increased noise disruption and disturbance. Also, due to the fact that we already have 2 off licenses, practicing off licenses on Montefiore Road within a very small radius. I worry about a third being very excessive and potentially resulting in resulting in things that could adversely affect the area's character and its very family orientated nature. So that's why I'm here today.
Thank you, Luke. Do we have any questions for Luke from the panel? No. Do we have any questions from Mr. Panchal?
No, Chair. I'll come back to when my presentation is there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have anyone else who's joined us since Luke joined? Noral, did you have any representation that you would like to make? I can't believe, did we, or did you already? I do apologise. I also have Aisha. Aisha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Aisha, apologies.
Sorry, Chair. She's put a message saying that she's having some technical issues. She can't seem to get her camera audio working.
Okay, thank you. In that case, sorry, I'm just going to read her message. Okay. You could try leaving and joining again. That might help, but it's up to you. In that case, I think we will go forward with the applicant's representation. Rebecca, sorry.
Well, I'm just trying to see. I think there was someone else might want to just speak. I'm not sure. Was it Nur al-Islam?
I did ask. I didn't get a response.
Oh, sorry. Okay. No. Okay.
Nurul, are you there?
Yes, please.
Would you like to give a representation?
Yeah, my concern is there is a hospital in front of the two shops. Also, there is a two off license shop is also down there, ice liquor. Also, a coffee shop. They also sell wine. Also, 1 or 2 minutes far away, Wilson, they also sell wine or beer. Also, Seven Dials, lots of off license. They also sell beers or alcohol. So my concern is it's a very noise our street or outside in evening. Also, so I concern is my concern.
Thank you, Nora. Does anyone have any questions for Nora Islam? No. Okay, I think we will now move on to Surendra Patel. Sorry, Councillor Lyons.
Yeah, thank you. So several mentions have been made about the hospital opposite. There hasn't been a representation from anybody from the hospital, has there, or has there?
No.
So I'm correct in saying, alcohol is not an issue as far as the hospital are concerned, or we're not aware that it is an issue.
Well, they haven't actually made a relevant representation.
Yeah.
But it's a concern that's been raised by the residents.
Indeed. But I think the point's worth mentioning.
Thank you, Councillor Lyons. Nick Rowe.
Hi there. Regarding the hospital, good question. But I mean, none of us knew that this was happening until we saw a sign on the front of the newsagent's door saying they wanted to apply for an alcohol license. So unless anyone from the hospital actually proactively goes and looks at that front door, they're not going to know anything about this, are they?
No.
So this is the situation. I mean, I was told by another resident about this. I wouldn't have known unless I had been told. So it's a difficult situation when it comes to that matter with the hospital. I don't know what to say.
Mr. Patel.
Sorry, ma'am. I just want to clarify regarding the hospital. We are having a discussion. NHS hospitals are part of the responsible authorities, so they do get a letter. Responsible NHS do get a letter to say that the application has been put up, like all the other responsible authorities.
Thank you for clarifying that. Any other questions before we move on? In that case, Mr. Patel, would you like to give your representation?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm going to be quick and precise in bringing. We have heard everything from the residents, and we've heard everything. May I just let you know that this shop has been in business for the last 42 years there. They have been, it was always a convenience store, and that convenience store has never breached or never been in any problems. People go into shop, people come out. This is a primary increment or display of saying that we're now going to be even offer, because for today's age, convenience stores do need to have an alcohol served, because people want to pick up a bottle of wine when they do the shopping and everything, as you see in Asda's, Tesco's, and all of the shops around the corner. And that is one of the criteria for the shops to survive. Now, coming back to how, as you've seen in your licensing policy, when the licensing officer presenting this case has clearly stated to you that this is not falling into the cumulative impact area. A cumulative area is something that a need is very important. And the guidance section 14.19 clearly says that you've seen from everybody else listening to that we do not need. There can be confusion about the difference between the need for premises and the cumulative impact of premises on the licensing objectives. For example, on crime and disorder, need concerns the commercial demand for another pub or restaurant or hotel and is a matter for the planning authority and for the market. This is not a matter for licensing authority in discharging its licensing functions or for its statement of licensing policy. Yes, we do agree that there is a guidance section 14.19. And if you even look at section 10.15 of the guidance, which I shall read you through the 10.15, it clearly states shops, stores and supermarkets should normally be free to provide sales of alcohol for consumption off the premises at any times when the retail outlet is open for shopping, unless there are good reasons based on the licensing objectives for restricting those hours. Now, coming back to the licensing objective, that how the licensing objectives should be promoted in a well-run off-license, that is more important for you today when you are making your decision. The decision that you're going to make today regarding the licensing objective is how well the client has an experience of 16 years. The client has an experience of 16 years running off licenses. She has never breached in that 16 years. She has never breached any of the licensing objectives. She's promoted, and the shop that they've run for 16 years falls into your borough, same borough, Wilson News, if you know about Wilson News. So they've been running that. They have always had
Sorry, Mr. Panjal, you seem to have gone on mute.
So they will provide an incident book which would be recorded, which they do normally for the last 16 years. They have a refusal book, which when they will not be selling alcohol to anybody young, so they will be asking them for ID. And that IDs will be asked for anybody who's 25 to 18. And if the ID is not correct, it will be put up in the refusal book, and even the refusal book will have that. They will be challenging people, and they will be following the Challenge 25 policy. So there will be a Challenge 25 policy wherever the alcohol is put up. Considering looking at what the public nuisance is, they will be having a poster when people depart that please leave quietly and consider our neighbors. So neighbors will be looked into. They will also be having a CCTV, which is 31 days recording, and that CCTV, there will be a letter put outside the shop to say we have a CCTV which is running. The responsible authorities will be aware that the CCTV is 31 days recording. If the CCTV does not work, alcohol will not be served. Alcohol will immediately be stopped. There will be a training.
I'm sorry, you've gone on mute again.
Sorry, ma'am, I'll just get this thing out. Anyway, so they will be having a training manual. The training manual will be recording everything. And they will also be recording the trainings carried out to the staff. The staff will not be employed prior to being trained on the premises. So the staff knows exactly who to serve and who not to serve. There will be a right to work checklist, which is important in this day and age, that you have illegal workers around in shops, and you must be having listened to. So there will be a right to work checklist, and the staff will be properly checked. There will be an authorization for the Alcohol Licensing Act 2003, section 19.2 and 19.3 clearly states the authorization of alcohol. So there will be an authorized, the DPS will be authorizing that. Section 57 notice will be put up to say where the license copy is, and all the trainings will be recorded for the responsible authorities to have a look. And apart from that, during our application, we did get in touch with all the responsible authorities, and your guidance clearly states that police is your first instance where how or where how the premises should be running, and theirs will be. The police have not sent any representations in this case. The reason being is they have tightened the premises up by putting down the if you look at your Appendix D, the conditions that we've followed up with the police, and if you look at those conditions, it clearly states that there will be no, to avoid the street drinkers coming into the shop, there will be no alcohol sold above 6%. So there will be no alcohol sold above person. All spirits will be kept behind the serving counter beyond arm's reach of the customers. There'll be no advertising or promotion. There will be no promotion. As you see, there was a concern by one of the neighbors regarding the promotions put up so people would come to this shop. No, there will be no promotions put up and legally. There'll be no advertising of alcohol placed on the outside footpath, such as A-boards or anything. There will be no delivery services of alcohol products. So I know the concerns by some of the neighbors that there will be people running around regarding the deliveries. There will be no deliveries. They're not interested in putting any deliveries out. And alcohol will be sold in closed containers as required by the off-license status. And you could see the prevention of crime and disorder. They're subject to GDPR guidance and legislation. The CCT will be up and running. These are the police's conditions that the staff we have agreed on. And you could go through those conditions. I'm sure you must have read those conditions or would be looking into when you're making your decisions. So those conditions automatically become part of the operating schedule of the license, ma'am. And so, ma'am, that is what we are looking at. I'll say to you about the 14.19 of the responsible that, and we have agreed to reduce the alcohol hours. And if your committee feels today that they would like to reduce the hours, closing hours to 10:30, we are happy to have those put up if you want to consider when you're considering in granting this license. So, ma'am, we feel that this license be granted. I'm happy to take any more questions, and I will be coming back to put my submissions at the end when you allow me to. Thank you very much.
Thank
Chair.
you, Surendra. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, sorry, Chair, could I just put on the record another local resident, Aisha, has put a message in the group due to being unable to turn her mic on. Am I able to read that message out just so everyone's privy to it, please?
Yes, okay, Luke, thank you.
So it says, my name is Aisha and I cannot speak with my microphone, but I'm a resident on 85 Davigdor Road and I'm concerned that this will increase noise and underage drinking, crime and disorder. We already have 2 shops on the street who sell alcohol. This is a family residential area. I'm sorry I couldn't speak in person. I've tried to get my microphone and camera working. Many thanks.
Thank you, Luke. I have responded to Aisha and thanked her for that. Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the representation. So there's mention that the owner has been running shops and had licence for 16 years. Can you give us some more information as to the number of staff that will be based in the shop, how many personal licences will be granted, because obviously the owner won't be there from opening hours to closing hours, and some more information as to the training that you anticipate giving for the staff should the licence be granted. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Ivan. I'll be able to let you know there will be 2 more extra staffs employed at the premises. Well, apart from this is a family-run business, a husband and wife, and so they have 2 shops, and they will be employing 2 other extra staff. Both the staffs will be trained on the BII-AB Level 1 course. So BII-AB Level 1 course is for prevention of selling alcohol to underage. Those courses will be run, and they will be logged into the training manual that I've showed you. So they will be getting those trainings carried out. It's an online training, VIIAB level 1. Going further on, one of the staffs will be trained into obtaining a personal license. So one of the staffs working at the premises will be having a personal license with him. That's one of them. The other thing is, we also, I forgot to mention to you that both the husband and wife have been living in the area. They've been living in the area above the Wilson shop. Shop for the last 16 years. So they are aware of the community. And during the COVID period, I've been also told during the COVID period, they did deliveries to all the old people around the area during the COVID period. So they did serve the community, and they're happy to serve the community now. They do own the shop, they're running the shop, and for the shop to remain, it is necessary these days to have an alcohol license. They're not interested in serving to people, street drinkers or that. So they've agreed to reduce the strong beers down to 6%.
Okay. Yes, just one further question. Thanks for that. So, can you remind us how long has the current shop been open by the existing owners?
The cooks. We got it from the 2.5 months. Cooks, you're talking about the Cooks or Wilson? Cooks, yeah. So Cooks, we got it from the April. Second week of the 9th of April.
9th of April, they managed to, because the previous owner passed away as for last.
Yeah.
Shop
So,
yeah.
No, thank you. So the current shop has been open since April 2025. The previous shop, when did that close?
So it's always been open, this shop.
Sorry.
Over. Yeah, sorry.
The Cooks has always been open. It hasn't been closed for the last 40 years. But the previous owner expired, and then these people took it over in April from the previous owners who has passed away.
Fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Nan, do you have any questions?
No, that was quite comprehensive on the conditions that will be accepted. Just one thing. So you started at 12, you came down to 11, you're now offering 10.30.
Yeah.
What's the lowest you'd go?
We can do 10. So
they're happy to have it till 10.
10, yeah.
That's your absolute lowest.
Yeah.
But then other shop is selling till 11, so we will be closing 10 anyway. So we will be not creating any problem for anybody's. And this shop will be more like a convenience. So we're selling some more other things like a grocery, household, the fruit, right? Everything it's like a one-stop shop for everyone. Because if just we do the household and grocery, that doesn't make a much business. So we prefer that people come and they grab one beer or wine, and also they grab the house shopping for them as well.
Thank you. So 10 is your lowest offer, yeah? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Can I ask, is it possible you could explain further your map of the shop? We're not very clear on what the blue areas are.
Sorry, ma'am.
Shop moment.
The map that's included in your application of the shop, it explains where the alcohol area, where you'll be storing alcohol. I was wondering if you could explain further what the blue areas are and where, I know it's very clear where the spirits will be held, but where the other alcohol will be.
Yeah, ma'am, if you look at the blue areas, alcohol, having always discussed with the responsible authorities and the police, that the alcohol should be in line with the counter, opposite the counter, so the person behind the counter can look at the shelves of the alcohol. So the spirits are going to go behind the counter, so the people will not have spirits by themselves, could not serve by themselves. And the alcohol will be served, if you look at the blue right opposite the counter, the blue area on the right opposite the counter in your bundle, that will be where the beers will be stocked, so the person behind the counter can see it.
Thank you. And can you just clarify what other products you sell?
Beer or grocery?
Grocery.
Yeah, there will be a lot of grocery stuff like
So we have a newspaper, magazine, grocery, household, fruitware, useful things, and
Dairy
dairy products, more
Dairy
variety of the
products.
dairy products, bakery, sandwiches.
eggs.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Can I also just ask, I know you were saying that you've had, yes, sorry, I think that was already, I do apologise, I've got so many notes. I think actually those are all my questions. Sorry, are you at all part of the Business Crime Reduction Partnership Scheme?
Yes, they
I know
are.
you were saying you are.
Yeah.
Is that the business on Wilson's
Yes,
News?
yes, ma'am.
And will this shop also be covered under that?
Yes, please, ma'am. Yes.
Thank
And
you.
please make sure, ma'am, that you are aware that last 16 years, the Wilson has never breached any of its conditions, never sold underage, and never had a problem in the shop.
We sell lottery and beer.
They do also sell
Residents,
lottery.
sorry, I
They
apologise.
do also sell lottery and cigarettes and that also.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, is it possible to come in and make a point there, please?
No, it's if you could just wait and then I'll ask you to come in a minute.
Okay, thank you.
I know residents have been worried about the noise. Can you explain how you feel that you could mitigate the extra noise that your shop may cause if it had this license?
Ma'am, because the normal noise you find out in normal shops are because there are deliveries that normally turn up with scooters and that. This shop is not going to do any deliveries. So they're not going to entertain any deliveries, number one. Number two, they will be having posters laid out to say, please leave quietly and consider our neighbors. They will be individually speaking to the customers if they make noise to say, please quiet down. We have neighbors around the area. Presently, there isn't any complaint regarding that. So they are running the shop presently without any complaint of noise and that.
Thank you. Any more questions from the panel? No, thank you. Councillor O'Quinn, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do, actually. Can I just point out that Mr. Panchal is not correct, because the Montefiore Hospital is a private hospital. And I'll read this out to you. A private hospital cannot be considered a responsible authority in a licensing application in the same way a local authority or designated responsible body is. And I think he's talking about environmental health anyway. So they wouldn't have been notified. And I agree with the resident who said they were very unlikely to have known about this at all. And I suspect wouldn't have been very happy about it. So that was a point that I wished to make, because it states it quite clearly. I thought it was bizarre that it would be regarded as a responsible authority. And Mr. Panchal, you keep saying that you haven't had any complaints, but it hasn't run as an off licence. It hasn't sold any alcohol. So why would you complain about a shop that was selling newspapers and groceries? Of course, it hasn't had any problems. It's just been a much loved corner shop which didn't sell alcohol and which therefore wasn't causing any issues for local residents. Also, you're talking about you would put up notices asking people to be quiet, and you're saying you wouldn't have deliveries. But you might have noticed that other people, other residents, have talked about a lot of noise outside the other two off licenses of people talking. Those two off licenses, they all put up notices. Everybody puts up notices, but people tend not to take any notice of them. So it doesn't actually solve the problem. Whatever you do, you will attract more people. There will be more noise because your shop is selling alcohol. And also, have you thought about St Anne's Well Gardens? Because you must be aware, as you know, you're a community shop, of all the issues that are there, which is a stone's throw away from your shop. And you're very likely to attract quite a lot of issues, very unpleasant issues from over there. And also from over the road. I'm very aware of some pretty a lot of stuff going over the road very close to you, which the police are very aware of. So are you aware of these other issues in the area?
Can I answer, ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, first of all, NHS is, may I remind you that NHS, I think Rebecca will be able to support what I'm saying, are part of the responsible authority. And if this is a private hospital, they use the shop at the moment. I've been heard from the clients that they regularly use the shop, and the notice for the application of the license was clearly stated out in front of the shop. We had pictures, and we sent those pictures to the council. Our application would be null and void if we did not display those notices for the general public to read. You are here today because you saw it from that notice that the application was put up, and you put up your representations. That's one of the questions regarding representations. It is not only cooks, it's every premises in the country. When you apply for, it has to have a notice, and it has to have a printed in the newspaper, which we did. It's complied with what the regulations are required. And the private hospital people did come down to they do regularly come down to the buy stuff, so they must have read the notices also. So we're not saying that people were not informed. People were informed regarding the application. That's one point. The second point is the shop has been running there for last so many years, and it has got cigarettes that they are selling. Cigarette is part of the underage scheme, where if they do a normal underage test purchases on cigarette. And then lottery is another one that does a test purchase on a regular basis, because lottery is also sold to over 18s only, and they have passed all those test purchases carried out, even at Wilson's and even at this shop. So ma'am, they have not breached, and we can vouch for that. At the present moment, you haven't got any evidence to show to this committee today that any of the matters were breached. That's one of the concerns that we need to look at. And they have had experience. Another thing that normal committees look at, that do the clients have an experience in running off licenses? You have a vast 16-year experience in running off license. They do understand what the 4 licensing objectives are. They do understand that the training manual is required and every staff is to be trained. We do understand myself in understanding the guidance 10.15. Your licensing policy clearly states it is not an accumulative impact zone, and we've followed all the matters which are under the licensing policy. So if you look at 10.15, which I've mentioned to you, and 14.19, which is a need isn't a criteria for this committee to look at, and need is something that we are trying to explain to you, that you could have 10 shops or 20 shops, and if they're not on a cumulative impact zone. We worked along with the responsible authority in getting those conditions laid out to tighten up the shops much more further. And if any of the condition was breached, may I remind the committee that any of the conditions, if my client breached, we would be coming in front of you again, and you would have a chance to revoke the license, and the client would, under section 135, would land up into having a criminal record, which Rebecca will be able to guide you through, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure, ma'am, you're experienced in this licensing committee. So that's my answer to the councillor.
Okay, can I respond, please, to that?
Yes.
Okay. I think you said that, well, you did state that the hospital was a responsible authority. It is not. I receive notice of this as a councillor in my emails, and so they wouldn't have received notice. Just people who work at the hospital going and seeing your thing wouldn't necessarily have meant the management knew about it. So, you know, that's just a kind of minor point. But I don't think cigarettes are quite the same thing as alcohol. I think alcohol is a much more dangerous thing. And that's why there are so many rules and procedures around it. The other thing that you're missing out when you talk about adhering to all the conditions, you are not. In the policy, it states quite clearly about where there's a parade of shops, not having more than one. And at the moment, we have two. That was designed to protect places like the parade of shops in Wooding, like the parade of shops in Richardson Road in Hove, also the parade of shops in Woodland Drive, where I'm sure they wouldn't want street off licenses. So it is actually to protect an area where there are a lot of residents and where it would be overkill. So that is actually stated in our policy very, very clearly. I asked you, and perhaps your client can answer this because she's obviously talking to customers and so on. My concern is about this will attract the kind of trouble we already have in St Answell Gardens, and also literally yards away from your premises. There are some serious problems in the premises opposite the Charter Medical Centre. And so is your client aware of this? I mean, I'm just concerned that you're not aware that you are right on the edge there and you are going to attract people that you might not wish to attract. So can maybe your client speak about if she knows what's going on in the area?
Ma'am, my client does understand. I keep repeating again that she's been in the area for last 16 years. She's been living there in the area for last 16 years. She knows the neighbors. She understands. I think my client has just pointed out that Councillor Jacqueline has also used the shop on some times. So they look at you and say, yes, Jacqueline's been one of our customers into the shop. So they do understand and they do know people around the area. So they're not completely blind on what they're going to expect. They are aware what they're going to expect in the area. They do know people locally very well. And they're very happy to make sure that the thing will be run in a manner required by the guidance. Cigarette, as earlier Jacqueline mentioned, Councillor Jacqueline, mentioned that cigarette is not dangerous. Cigarette is dangerous, to be honest to you. It is as good as a drug compared with the alcohol. So it is a serious matter. The government is fighting on how to stop smoking, as you heard, and we are doing everything best. So they haven't breached anything that by selling a lot of unlicensed cigarettes or like that. They've always at Wilson, always at this shop, made sure they followed the full regulations of cigarettes, where to buy and which cigarettes to sell. So they haven't breached any of those at Wilson in 16 years. And now at Cook's also, they've been selling since April and have never stopped any kind of no trading standards, visited or found anything that is against the law. So there is a good evidence of showing to you that how well the Wilson is run and how well this shop is going to be run.
Yes,
thank you,
thank you, Mr. Can I just one last point I wanted to make? Well, yes, Mr. Panchal, yes, I did. I knew the previous owners of this shop, and I was very sad to hear that both had passed away. But what I wanted to say was this shop ran for 40 years without selling alcohol. And you're now saying it can't possibly run without selling alcohol. Well, how did it manage to run for 40 years without selling alcohol? And obviously still make a profit for the people there. And now you're saying it's not possible without alcohol.
Yes, ma'am, I can answer that. In 40 years, they were also doing newspaper. They had a lot of community round where newspaper was a big round that the shop had in the area. Suddenly, Tesco's, Asda's now sell newspapers. So newspapers in the community has stopped now deliveries of newspapers. People are now picking up newspapers from the Tesco's, Asda's, and all other places. And now people are displaying newspapers to be picked up. So that is something that majority of the news agents around the country are now applying for alcohol license, because people now have moved forward and going to any shops to say, like, we pick up a bottle of wine, pick up our groceries, and that is where people want to go to. So the other two shops have customers visiting with them. Those customers who are here working and coming at Cooks will have a same advantage of picking up a bottle of wine or a case of a can of beer when they're going away home. They're not going to be drinking in front. Any proxy sales, they do understand what proxy sales is. They do understand what is required by the judge. There is a change in the culture these days in UK. We've come across, we're 20 years in our licensing business, and we've seen the increase of license or news agents. The survival of news agents is to increase them into an off license for their customers to pick a bottle of wine. A lot of people, even from the hospitals nowadays, would come down and they're asking the player, are you not stocking a bottle of wine or so, though we can pick it up while we want to go home from our duties at the hospital. Again, I repeat again and again, I do understand Councillor Jacqueline's concerns that the hospital wasn't informed. No, the hospital and everybody are informed on a way of putting a notice out. But I can also clearly say that NHS is a part of the responsible authority, and I will stick to that, because we do applications and NHS are part of even the immigration are now part of the responsible authority, which I am sure Rebecca will be able to, legal will be able to let you explain to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I think the point I was making is that the private hospital is part of the NHS, so it wouldn't have been. But
thank you, Aquin.
Yes,
Jackie.
that's fine. Thank you, and I'll leave other people to ask questions now.
Rebecca, would you like to come in?
Well, just to clarify that the responsible authority is the local authority's Director of Public Health, or local health board, but it's our Director of Public Health, I think, that gets sent the application. So they wouldn't go to individual hospitals, but obviously the Director of Public Health has knowledge of matters, of those matters, and would get a copy of the application, and they haven't made a representation in this case.
Thank you for clarifying that, Rebecca. Do any other residents have questions for Surendra Panchal? Nick, would you like to go ahead? You're on mute, Nick.
Sorry, one last question. Can I ask how the authorities were supposed to be contacted? Was it by letter? Was it by email? How was the process? I'm not so familiar with the situation, the process.
Emily, would you like to come in?
Yeah, sorry, just putting my mic down. So when an application comes in, it's sent to all the responsible authorities. So it's emailed to all the responsible authorities, the full application.
Okay, and do we have any, sorry to say, but do we have any evidence or proof that Spire Healthcare, which is the private hospital involved, was notified and they had a chance to actually understand what was happening here? Because it seems that there might be some disparity between responsible authority and a private healthcare, such as Spire.
I mean, I could only really sort of echo what Rebecca's already said. It would have gone to public health, and they would have, you know, if they wanted to raise a representation, they would have done. And the application is advertised on the premises, as we've heard, for 28 days, and also advertised in the newspaper.
Okay.
Nick, do you have any further questions?
No further questions, no, thank you.
Thank you. Luke, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a couple of points. I just wanted to just just picking up on what Mr. Patel was saying regarding the previous owners. I mean, as Councillor Quinn said, the previous owners operated for 40 years plus, and from my understanding as a local resident, it was a hugely successful and prospering shop for all that time. So I do find it slightly implausible the argument he makes that an alcohol sales license is a necessity in order for the business to continue to thrive and prosper. And I would just also like to politely point out, Chair, that I know from speaking to my younger sister and her friends that they on several occasions were able to purchase alcohol items from Wilson News in a way in which ID checks were somewhat lax in terms of their enforcement. And I'd just like to ask Mr. Patella what assurances he can give that such business practices won't also be repeated in this new shop if it is to be granted an alcohol sales license. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Surendra, would you like to come back on that?
Ma'am, if you could clarify that question, and I'd love to answer it. I couldn't hear from his microphone the correct question that he is asking.
I think it was related to your to why you believe that you cannot run a business in the same way that the previous owners did without selling alcohol. When is that correct, Luke?
That's correct, yeah. And also I made the point that speaking to my younger sister and her friends, I know that underage drink sales was somewhat prevalent in news. They were able to purchase alcohol underage 18 without being asked for ID checks. And I'm just asking what assurances can be given that this practice won't be repeated. If this.
Sorry, Luke, were you saying at Wilson's News? Is that what you were saying, that they were able to?
Yes, I've had reports from my younger sister and her friends that they were able to purchase alcohol items underage without being asked for ID at Wilson News. I'm just wondering what assurances can be given that that practice won't be repeated this new shop if it's to be granted alcohol sales license. Thank you, Chair.
Surendra, did you hear that or not? Would you like me to repeat it?
I got that, ma'am. Ma'am,
okay.
Never at Wilson News have they served anybody who is under the age of 18. Never. And they've always asked the 3 IDs required. Either would be a driving license, passport, or a citizen card with a pass hologram on it. They've always written their refusal book is constantly checked and constantly played up. So, and there is no problems. Otherwise, the trading standards of the police would have already put up a criminal record or brought up for any hearing. So we are not aware at all, and then the client is not aware at all that any time they've sold underage, they have never sold never ever sold underage. So ma'am, that's one answer. And the secondly, Challenge 25 policy is in place at Wilson, and there will be a Challenge 25 policy placed at this premises also, ma'am.
Thank you. Sorry, I am writing a response to Aisha. She has a specific question. Yeah. Does anybody else have a question for the applicant? Okay, if you could just bear with me, we will see if Aisha has a question. While we're waiting, I do actually have a question for Emily Fountain, if that's okay. I think I should aim it at you. I was just wondering, Emily, do we have any actual statistics on antisocial behaviour in this area?
I haven't got any crime statistics, I'm afraid. Okay. Sorry, it'd be the police.
Ma'am, can I answer the question? We did speak to the police regarding the crime statistics, and the police was saying the crime statistics were quite low, and hence that is why we went ahead with the application prior to the application being put in. And we agreed with the conditions that the police required. More concerns were regarding the street drinkers, and hence we decided that the police and us decided that 6% alcohol would deter the street drinkers to come in to purchase alcohol.
Thank you, Surendra. That's very helpful. Thanks. I don't have a specific. Oh, one moment. Sorry, I do have a question. So, Surendra, this is for you. Is there anything else you'll be doing to mitigate the risk of non-residential people, which you haven't said already, who may already be disorderly from the buses lingering outside the shop on Davidore Road? That's from Aisha Worley, who's a resident.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, as you have seen, and as we are saying all the time on this presentation, that they've been living here in 16 years and they do understand the local community very well. My client is already saying that he understands and he knows Luke or Nico. They've seen them often in the area, so they do understand those. So if there was a person who's not, who they do not know and understand is not living in the area, they will be very careful for whatever they've been doing.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
Sorry, Chair, I never received an answer to my question about how the previous owners were able to thrive and prosper for many decades without an alcohol license. Why it's different for these new owners, please? Thank you.
Ma'am,
Surrender, did you hear that?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I've answered that earlier also, and I would like to repeat again. They had a huge contracts of delivering newspapers around the area at that particular instance, and those newspapers were delivered to the local community for so many years, and that went down and down and down. And nowadays people do not order any more news from news agencies. That area has gone down completely, and the culture and everything is changed. People are now looking to go to do shopping, pick up a bottle of wine, or pick up that is what the culture is. So today, if the shop wants to survive, it would have to have an alcohol license. It would then go to the next shop and the other shop, which again, when we are hearing about the objectors saying that there would be a queue at the second and the third shop, that queue will disperse off if this license is granted here, because then people would have more choice to go down to this shop and pick up a bottle of wine and the grocery. The grocery is also increased at this shop.
There's no profit.
And there's no profit on its own with the grocery. So it is essential to increase alcohol as a primary product into the shop.
Thank you, Surendra. Any further questions? In that case, I am suggesting that we take a 10-minute break before we go through summaries, if that's okay with everyone. It's now past, so if we say 22, we'll return. Thank you.
Road. We've now heard from all parties present, and the application is now for Monday to Saturday until 2300. Sunday remains 22:30. During the hearing, closing at 2200 every day was also canvassed. Licensing guidance states that in determining the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives in the overall interests of the local community, the licensing authority must give appropriate weight to the steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the representations, including any supporting information presented by all the parties, the licensing guidance, and its own statement of licensing policy. The licensing authority must carry out its functions with a view to, sorry, I'm repeating myself. It is important to note that each application will be given individual consideration on its own merits. After considering all the relevant issues, the licensing authority may grant the application subject to such conditions that are consistent with the operating schedule. If the panel decide to grant the application, then any conditions added to the licence to meet the licensing objectives should be clear, precise and enforceable. Alternatively, the licensing authority may refuse the application on the grounds that it is appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Emily. We'll now hear from Councillor O'Quinn. Jackie, you're on mute.
Always forget that. Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I just wanted to reiterate what I've said already. Nothing that has been said today has changed my mind at all, because it says very clearly in licensing policy that in a parade like this, in a very residential area, there really shouldn't be more of one type of shop, which is off licenses here. I think the limit was reached when the second off license was agreed in this area. And as I've said, to agree to a third when they're literally just yards away from each other, you know, cheek by jowl, I really can't understand that. I think that's totally crazy. And you do have the ability to refuse the application on those grounds of what is stated in licensing policy, and not be changing around the hours and so on. Because we just don't need a third one. It will create problems in the area. And you've had 21, well, take away the licensing authority. You've had 20 representations from local residents, which is a very high number. So that means a lot of people have made the effort when they found out about this to write a representation. So I feel very strongly about this one, because I just think it's overkill. And also, it doesn't matter how well a premises is run or whatever, it's not really a good enough reason to give them a license in this particular situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Would any of the residents like to give a summary? Sorry, Rebecca.
Sorry, I just wondered whether Emma Grant might want to give a summary on behalf of the licensing authority, but
I do apologise. Emma, would you like to give your summary?
Yeah, I don't have an awful lot more to offer. Obviously, the applicant has proposed some slightly more restrictive hours, which you may want to consider. But other than that, I've got nothing else to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Apologies, Nick, would you like to give a summary?
Second, yes, thank you. Following on from Councillor O'Quinn, I absolutely think it's overkill. I think it's unacceptable that there would be 3 off licenses within 50 yards of each other. There is absolutely no need. It's not necessary, and it's more about money if this goes forward than concern for the residents now. That's how Montefiore Road is looking and becoming, in my opinion. That's all I have to say on the matter.
Thank you, Nick. Would any other residents like to
yes, please,
give a summary? Chair. Sorry, who spoke?
Yes, please, Chair. That was okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you, Councillor Pickett, and just thank you for your chairing of this meeting. I mean, just like to reiterate the points made by Nick and Councillor O'Quinn, obviously with the greatest respect to the applicants. I think the general idea of 3 off licenses within a 10-metre radius is completely excessive, and in a very residential, family-orientated area comes with huge risks that have already been discussed in regards to antisocial behaviour, noise disruption. And I don't believe the concerns and anxieties that a significant amount of residents have expressed today, obviously as highlighted by Jackie O'Quinn in terms of the number of residents that have objected to this application, I don't believe those concerns have been allayed in any meaningful way today. So I urge the panel on that basis to reject the application. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute my thoughts to the matter.
Thank you, Luke. We'll now hear the summary from Surendra Pachal, please, the applicant.
Thank you very much, Chair. Ma'am, my application, my submission today would be, we have showed you today and presented to you how robustly the 4 licensing objectives will be promoted at the premises. We made sure there is ample of experience in the applicant to make sure all the necessary requirements are met with. Ma'am, I've also mentioned to you section 14.19, which clearly says, as you heard from all the applications objectors, that there can be a confusion about the difference between the need for premises and the cumulative impact of premises on the licensing objectives. For example, on crime and disorder, need concerns the commercial demand for another pub or restaurant or hotel and is a matter for the planning authority and for the market. This is not a matter for the licensing authority discharging its licensing function or for its statements on licensing policy. And in your policy, it clearly states regarding the need. You heard about the need that we do not want another premises. So that is something that you need to look at in the guidance section 182. Ma'am, what can I say? We have already agreed a robust operating schedule along with the responsible authorities who haven't objected to the application. We haven't seen even the environment officers of objecting for any matters concerning the noise and that. They have not objected. They had ample of time to object to this. So, ma'am, we feel for the betterment of the premises to run, may I also let you know that the previous owners were running at a loss for the last 2 years, not having an alcohol license and the premises not working since his wife passed away, and he managed to.
The husband passed away.
Sorry, the husband passed away, and the wife managed to forward the business, sell it off due to its loss on the business. So, ma'am, that's something that loss is not a matter for your committee to discuss, but I'm just bringing to your attention that this have a lot of experience. We've mentioned to you 10.15 also, where shops, stores and supermarkets should now be free to provide sales of alcohol for consumption of the premises at any times when the retail outlet is open for shopping, unless there are good reasons based on the licensing objectives for restricting those hours. And we have shown you the good reasons how well and robustly the 4 licensing objectives are going to be promoted. So, ma'am, we leave it to the committee to decide, and we hope that this license be granted today.
Thank you, Surendra. I now move to any closing comments from the legal advisor to the panel.
I think most has been said. Need, the applicant is right in the sense of commercial need is not a licensing consideration, but where it may affect cumulative impact, if in the sense of too many premises causing an impact, that can be a relevant consideration where representations have been received, but need as a in the strict is not a relevant issue. It's the cumulative impact which is possibly relevant, and I think that's reflected in the notes to the matrix, which I think Councillor O'Quinn was referring to. And note 8 says where in an area where there are already existing where the premises is situated within a parade and reps are received about negative cumulative impact, you are able to refuse it, or you are able to restrict the terminal hour to reflect opening hours of other shops. So it's really, it's the likely impact on the licensing objectives and of this application. Do you have you canvassed all conditions that you might want to, asked all your relevant questions? And if so, do you have any questions of me at all?
Ma'am, just to let you know, sorry, Rebecca.
Yes, of course. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it is not on a cumulative impact zone at the moment. It is not on a cumulative, just to make you aware.
Yes, no, obviously, of course. Yeah.
We're happy if the committee wishes to add any conditions or restrict hours to suit your grant. As we said from my applicant, are happy to have it to 10 o'clock, 22 hours if the license is granted. So we are happy for that conditions added or to restrict the hours for the grant of the license.
Yeah, of course. No, I appreciate it's not in the CIZ, but
yeah,
people are still able to make arguments about cumulative impact if they wish. But no, so I think, yeah, the panel, you've just got to go and make your decision now.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you everyone for coming today. The panel will now retire to make its decision. Please note, we will be accompanied by the legal advisor and the clerk to the panel, but they will take no part in the decision-making process. The decision will be sent in writing within 5 working days with appeal rights attached. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you, Chair.